Democratic Congressman Mike Quigley of Illinois. He serves on the House Intelligence Committee. He met today in Washington, D.C. with members of the Ukrainian parliament. Congressman, let's start with those meetings. What did the members of the Ukrainian parliament share with you about the situation on the ground, and what did they tell you that they still need?
Yeah, it was interesting to your point you were just making. They thought this was not just repositioning by the Russian army, it was also face-saving. They were proud of the fact that they had stopped the Russian efforts at Kyiv and that Putin was looking for an excuse to pull his troops away. It was a very powerful meeting. I mean, these were 5 members of the Rada. They were all women, all mothers, but their messages were particularly powerful. One described an alert on her phone that had gone off because her 2-year-old son was in an area with an air raid taking place. They talked about their trip here where they had walked across the border and then driven to Warsaw so that they could fly here. And I think their takeaway was really compelling. They said, to us, weaponry is humanitarian aid. When the enemy is targeting civilians and children, their needs are weaponry, first and foremost.
Is the U.S. doing enough? Is NATO doing enough to get these Ukrainians the weaponry they need?
You know, I think the Biden administration has done a masterful job uniting NATO and the West and moving as far as we have. But frankly, this is a war on the water. It's a war on land and the air, and you can't fight it on a limited basis. So we need to give them all of the resources they need. I think the javelins and stingers are particularly effective, but they need surface to air. They need the planes to battle the Russians on an equal footing.
The Biden administration today is not obviously buying the line from the Kremlin that they could withdraw from the capital region of Ukraine. How concerned are you that there will remain a serious threat to Kyiv, that this is just more Russian lies, just like the lies we heard before they attacked Ukraine when they said they were not going to attack Ukraine?
I think my colleagues from the Rada hit it right on. This is a temporary repositioning. We know that some of the Russian army is up in Belarus, restocking and getting ready for a further attack. So I don't think there's anything you can believe that comes out of the Kremlin on this fact. And I think we should believe most our allies and those who are having to fight the Russians on a day-to-day basis.
The Russians might be repositioning near the capital, but of course, they're still pounding, brutally destroying cities such as Melitopol and Mariupol and Kharkiv. And what does that tell you about Russian intentions here?
You know what it makes me think of? Ukraine is fighting the fight. Ukraine's cause is the fight and the reasons we formed NATO in the first place. So when I see those cities getting leveled and innocents being butchered, I just wish people would stop saying, well, they're not prefacing everything. Well, they're not a member of NATO, right? They are why we formed NATO, and we should give them all the aid they need to fully combat the forces they face.
As Fred Plotkin just reported, Ukrainians say it's going to take generations for any sort of trust to be restored. That's assuming that there is some sort of peaceful resolution to this. So what might the Russians need to do in order for the West to ever trust them ever again?
I think a couple things. It would have to begin with regime change, one that they complete on their own. I also think they're going to have to help Ukraine build their country back to where it was and give Ukraine the understanding that if they want to join the EU and NATO, then that's their choice, that they are a sovereign democratic country. They can't force a demilitarization, therefore weakening the prey that they face, but still will, again, probably take generations.
We're seeing the broad strokes of a possible roadmap to a truce, at least, or a ceasefire. It would include tabling the future of Crimea for now. Ukraine would back down from its ambitions to join NATO. Ukraine would look at pledging some sort of military neutrality, although with security guarantees. Do you think that's a deal that President Volodymyr Zelensky should be willing to take?
Again, our guest today said that Ukraine is negotiating with a gun to their head. And I'm hoping that they're not forced because they aren't getting everything they need to make a deal they shouldn't do. So this has to be a decision made by a sovereign democratic country with the protection from the West and a realization that I think they firmly believe that they can't trust Russia right now, and that they're probably very skeptical that these truce talks have any merit, that the Russians intend to do nothing else but stall.
Congressman Mike Quigley of Illinois, member of the House Intelligence Committee, thank you so much, sir. Appreciate it. It was supposed to be a